Hi guys, I'm the Ember, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make this satisfying destruction animation in Blender. So let's jump right into it. So I've opened up Blender, but for this tutorial I'm using an add-on called Molecular Plus. It basically makes particles act more realistic. So I'm going to show you how to install that. So I will have this link in the description where you can just click on it and go to this page. And then you can just click on code and download zip file. That will save it to your downloads folder. But if you don't know where it saved it to on your computer, you can click this button here and show in folder. It will open up a folder and then you can see mine is saved in downloads. Now you can go back over to Blender. And then I'm going to go up to edit, preferences, and click install. And then I'm going to go to downloads and you can see mine is right here. So you can just click that and press install add-on. And then it should pop up here. All you have to do is click this checkbox here to enable it. And then you can just close out of this. So now if you press N on your keyboard, you can see we have Molecular Plus down here. And yes, that is working. So we can press N to hide that again. Okay, so I'm going to select our default cube and press SY5. Then I'm going to tab into edit mode and right click and click subdivide. Let me quickly enable my screencast keys so you can see what I'm doing down here. Then I'm going to click subdivide one more time. Then you can see we have 3 lines in the middle. And that's what you want. And then I'm going to press Ctrl R and I'm going to give it 4 loop cuts. And then you can right click, Ctrl R, scroll your mouse wheel up 4 times. So you have 4 lines and then right click and do the same on all the other segments, just like this. So Ctrl R, scroll your mouse wheel up, left click and then right click. So now we have a pretty even grid, which is what we want. Now you can press 3 or up here you can click face select. And then we're just going to select every second face on the edge right here. So just like that. If you accidentally select one you don't want selected, you can hold down Control and box select that one and it deselects that. Okay, so that's one row done. Now I'm going to go over here and do the same thing. Like that. Then once again over here. See, I put one in the wrong spot, so you can hold down Control and box select that to deselect it. And then the last edge right here. Okay. So now we've got every edge selected, like that. We can press Alt-E and extrude faces along normals. Now I'm going to go about 0.5, so you can type in 0.5. Okay, so now I want to rotate these a little bit. So if we press RY, at the moment they'll all rotate like that, which is not really what we want. We want each individual one to rotate by itself. So to do that, we can go up here and change this to individual origins. Then you can press RY and that should rotate right. So I'm going to rotate it about, let's say, -25. Like that. Then you can tab out of edit mode and we've got our first crusher. Okay, so now I'm going to go to side view. You can press this button up here or press 1 on your numpad. And I'm just going to move this along the x-axis by pressing G then X. And I'll just move it just round about there. Now I'm going to press Shift D, X, and move it over. But we want this to be like that. So we can press RZ180 like that, and that is looking pretty good. Now I want to make the axle that comes out of here. So I'm going to press tab to go into edit mode, and I'm just going to select these 4 here. And then you can press Shift S and cursor to selective. So now it puts the 3D cursor in the middle of those 4 squares. So now if you press Shift A, we can add a cube. And we can scale this down by 0.2. And then we can select this face right here. And I'm just going to press Control B to give that a little bit of bevel, like that. Then select this face, and Shift S, cursor to selected. And then Shift A and add a cylinder. Before you do anything, go down to this drop down here, and change the number of vertices to 100. Now we can press R, X, and 90. I'm going to press S and scale this down a whole bunch, like that. Then I'm going to select this face, and press G and Y, and move that a long way out. So now if we hover over the cylinder and press L, it will select it. And we can do the same thing with this bit here. And then with both of them selected, I'm going to go to side view and press Shift D. Then you can right click to cancel the location. And you see, if we try and rotate this, it rotates really weird. That's because we still have it set on individual origins. So we need to make that back to medium point. And now if we press R, it will rotate them both from the one origin. Now if we press RZ 180, that will flip it. Then you can just press G and Y and slide that straight over to roundabout here. So now we have this object done. I'm going to go back into edit mode by pressing tab, hover over the cylinder, press L, and hover over the cube and press L like that. So both of these are selected. Then I'm going to go to top view and press Shift D X and put that in the center of the other one like that. You can go to side view again, and we can line this up in the middle. So G and X, and that's about the middle. But we have a problem. Now if we tab out of edit mode, it's one thing, but we want this one here to be joined to that, not to this. So to do that, I'm going to tab back into edit mode, and these are still selected, so I'm going to press P and separate this by selection. Now if we tab out of edit mode, you'll see this one is actually a separate object. So now if we select this cylinder first and then select the crusher, we can press Ctrl J and it joins them together. So now it's one mesh, and that's what we want. So now we're going to quickly animate this. So I'm going to pull up the timeline a bit and make end 380. So we have 380 frames to work with. I'm just going to scroll out so we can see the whole thing. And I'm going to select one of them. If it already has a keyframe, we can just delete that by pressing X. So now they have no keyframes on them. I'm going to select this and I'm going to press I, rotation. Now we can go to the very end. So frame 380 is the very end for me. Now I can press RY minus 720. Then we can press I and insert rotation. So now you see it is rotating like that. Now I'm going to select this and select both the keyframes. And then you can press T and make sure your interpolation is set to linear. So we can just click linear like that. So now that is spinning perfectly. Now I need to do the same thing with this one. So go to frame 1, press I, rotation, frame 380, press R, Y, and instead of doing minus 720, we're just going to do 720. And then we're going to press I and rotation. So now they rotate like that. But if we go to side view, you can see that they're clipping. We don't really want them to be clipping. You can see here that it's going into the mesh like that. We don't really want that. So I'm just going to select it and press G, X, and move it out. I'm going to move it out by minus 0.1. GX, and instead of minus 0.1, I'm just going to do 0.1. So now you see that it's hardly clipping, which is perfect. And I think that will be okay. Okay, so that is looking good. Okay, so now I'm going to select both of these objects, G and Z, and move it up. I'm just going to pause that and go back to the beginning. Okay, so now I'm going to add a plane. So Shift A, mesh plane. It adds it over here. I don't really want to add it over there. I want it to add it in the middle. So we can delete the plane by pressing X, and to put the cursor back in the middle, you can press Shift S and cursor to world origin. So now you see it snaps back to the middle. Okay, so now we can press Shift A, mesh and plane, and then we can type S100, so it's really big. And I'm just going to go to side view, and I'm going to move this down to round about here. Okay, now we need to add in the cube that gets crushed. So Shift A, mesh and cube. G and Z, move this up about here. And then we can press S and Z and make it a bit longer. So like that. I'm going to move it up a little bit more. And now we're going to use the add-on we installed at the beginning. So we can press N to go to the side panel and click on Molecular Plus. And for this one, I'm going to click 3D Grid. So now if you press play, you see there's a 3D grid of particles. But it just falls straight through the ground, as you can see here. So first, I'm going to select the plane and add a collider. Same thing with both these crusher objects. So make sure a collider is on the plane and these two objects here. And then I'm going to select this cube. And I'm going to go over to the physics properties and press link at birth. So now basically the particles will be a bit more stuck together when they fall. Then I'm going to go to particle settings and down to a viewport display and turn off show emitter. Same with render, uncheck show emitter. At the moment, it's rendering as halo, which actually won't show up in the final render. So I'm going to make this render as an object, but we need an object to instance. So I'm going to Shift A and add an icosphere, click this panel down here and make the subdivisions 4. And then right click and shade smooth. I'm going to press G and X and move this out of the way. Then I'm going to select our cube again, which is up there. And I'm going to go back down to render. And we can click the eyedropper and select the icosphere. So now if you zoom in, you'll see that they're all little icospheres. Okay, now we're basically ready to bake. So I'm going to select the cube and press start simulation. So this is going to take a long time to bake. Okay, so the bake is finished. And now if we press play, you can see this might be what you want, but it's not exactly what I want. See how this is staying up the top and it's not really getting crushed in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to free all the bakes by pressing that button there. And then I'm just going to move this down a little bit. And this will change the whole simulation look. So if you don't like it, just move it around a little bit. Now I'm just going to bake the simulation again by pressing this button here. Okay, so this is finished baking. And you can see this looks a lot better from last time. So if you have that same problem, just move it down a little bit, move it around a tiny bit, and you should get a different result. That looks really good. Okay, so now we need to set up the camera and do some materials. Okay, so I'm going to select the camera and press Ctrl Alt Numpad 0 to snap it to view. If you don't have a numpad, you can go up to View, Align View, then Align Active Camera to View. Okay, so I'm just going to position it how I like this. And then I'm going to select the camera, make sure it's selected, go back to frame 1. If you have any existing keyframes, just select them and delete them. Then I'm going to press I and insert location. And press I again and insert rotation. Now I'm going to go to frame, let's say 215. I'm going to move the camera down and rotate it a bit till you get a position that you like. I think I like this. And then you can press I, insert rotation, and I again and insert location. So now you see your camera has some movement and that makes it look a lot better. Okay, that is looking great. So before we go any further, I'm just going to press Ctrl S to save this, and you can save this wherever you want, and you can name it whatever you want, and then you can click save. Okay, so now I'm going to go up to here and go to viewport shading. I'm going to press 0 to go into camera view, or you can press this camera icon up here. And then I'm going to bring up the timeline a lot more and change this to the shader editor. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a material for our object here. So if we select this, you can see if we make a new material and change the color to something like that, you see it doesn't actually change it. That's because we need to change the color on the instance object, which is the icosphere down there. So select icosphere and click new, and then you can make the color whatever you want and it should change. But I don't want all of the particles to be the same color. I want some to be a little bit of a different hue. So I'm going to press Shift A and add a object info. And then we can plug random into base color. Now you can see that each of them has a different color from black to white. And now I'm going to press Shift A and add a color ramp and put that right in there. I'm going to make the white a bit of a orange color, and the black a bit of a dark brown. And then you can just play around with this so you get something you like. I like this, so that looks pretty good. And then I'm just going to turn metallic all the way up and turn roughness to about 0.2. So now it kind of looks like metal. I'm going to change this color down a little bit, so we've got something like this. Now I'm going to press 0 to go back to camera view, and I'm going to select this. It's already got a material because it was the default cube, and the default cube already comes with a material. But if it doesn't, you can just click new material. So I'm going to select it, and I'm going to make this just metallic and turn the roughness to also 0.2. It doesn't look that good at the moment, so I'm going to press Shift A and add in a noise, and Shift A and add in a color ramp. I'm going to plug the color into the roughness and the color of the noise into the factor of the color ramp. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit and turn off overlays up here so we don't have all the extras. Okay, so if we turn the scale up, you can see that we do have something, which is looking pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to make the scale 26. And the detail, let's make that up to the highest it can go, which is 15. You can change the distortion a bit. I'm going to change that a little bit. And I'm going to change the white, just make it a bit darker. And then you can bring the black in and bring the white in. Okay, so I'm just going to go over to the camera icon and enable ambient occlusion, bloom, and screen space reflections. You can see that looks a lot better. Okay, so one more thing I want for this is I want this piece right here to be a goldish copper color. So if we zoom in, tab to go into edit mode, we can press L to select this, and then we can go over to material properties over here, add in a new material by clicking this plus icon and assigning it. So now it's assigned. So I'm going to click new, and I'm going to make this orange, turn metallic all the way up, and turn roughness down. So now if we tab out of edit mode, you can see that looks pretty good. I'm going to also add a little bit of noise. So if we select this one again and go back to slot 1, we can select both of these, Control C to copy, go back to slot 2, and press Control V to paste those two in. And then we can plug it into the roughness. And you can see that is looking really nice. We're not going to be able to see this side, so we only need to do it on these two. But if you can see that side, you can do the same thing, but on that side. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in, select this one, tab to go into edit mode. And you can just press A twice to make sure nothing is selected. And then you can press L to select this. and we can click New, click this drop down here, and we can select the object we just made. Now we can tab back into edit mode, and then you can click Assign. And then I'm just going to go back to camera view. So that is looking really nice. I'm going to select the floor, click New, and I'm just going to make it a little bit of metallic. So I'm going to press Ctrl V again to paste those two nodes in. Plug it again into the roughness. I'm going to bring the color on the base color down a lot. And you can see we have this nice thing here, this nice pattern. I'm actually going to bring it all the way down to black. And with the white, I'm going to make it all the way white. And on the black, I'm going to select the black and make it a bit more white like that. So they're both pretty much white. Okay, that looks really good. Now we just need to change a few render settings. I'm going to go over to the print icon here. And you can save this wherever you want to. You can click this button here. And then we can change the file format from PNG to FFmpeg video. Open the encoding tab and change the container to MPEG-4. Okay, so we've got those render settings now. I'm just going to go to render preview. And you can see the lighting is not the best. So I'm just going to change the lighting. I'm going to select the default light, GZ, move it down. G, Shift, Z, and I'll just move that. Let's go over here. GZ, you can move it up a little bit. I'll put it about here. Then you can press Shift D and bring it over here. And we can just put a few of them around the place. Then I'm going to press Shift A, add a light, and add an area. I'm going to go back into camera view, G, Z, move it up, scale this up, move it over here a little bit, rotate it along the Y, point it at it, and I'm going to make the power, let's go 500, maybe even a little bit brighter. I'm going to go about 900. Okay, so I'm just going to do one more adjustment. I'm going to select this, go back to slot 1. I'm going to make the base color down a little bit to make it a bit more black. Okay, one more problem I've noticed is that when in camera view, you can see these poles. Press tab to go into edit mode and select the face and G, Y, and just move it out again. I'm just going to swap this back to timeline by clicking this button and going to timeline. And then we can go back to frame 1. Select the camera, move this around how you like it, move it back a bit, and then you can press I and location. So now the camera will be like that, and that looks really good. So I'm just going to extend this one a little bit more, Y, and move it out. Okay, so that is basically it. Now all we have to do is go up to render and render animation. Once this is done, you'll have a really cool, satisfying destruction animation in Blender. I hope you enjoyed this video and learnt something, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one.